Kent Hughes is going to be a busy man, because when it comes to some centers that may or may not be available on the market, we have some word as to the Montreal Canadiens and what they are thinking about in regards to these names. We're talking about Detroit Red Wings captain Dylan Larkin, and we're also talking about New Jersey Devils captain Nico Hischier. One is a lot more likely to get moved, but the Montreal Canadiens are reportedly in on both. Let's dive into Spectre's hockey from earlier this morning, because on the Montreal Gazette, Stu Cowan writes about what the Montreal Canadiens trade price for Red Wings captain Dylan Larkin could be. Cowan believes Larkin would definitely be a good fit for the Canadiens and their second-line center position. The 29-year-old Detroit Red Wings captain's trade request made headlines last week. He had scored at least 30 goals in each of the last 5 seasons. At least 30 goals in each of the last 5 years. Yeah, I mean, he's done that. Pretty consistently as well, I would say. He has 5 more seasons left in his contract with an AAV of $8.7 million a year. Cowan believes the Red Wings' asking price would start with the Canadiens' top prospect, center Michael Hage. He thinks the Habs have reached the stage in their rebuild where moving Hage is no longer considered unthinkable, adding that they need a second-line center to skate alongside rising star Ivan Demidov. Now, the rest of this piece dives into what the Philadelphia Flyers could give up for Larkin, whether or not the Canadiens could revisit the Nyes deal, which it doesn't look like it's actually possible anymore. But when you think about Dylan Larkin and the idea of him becoming a Hab, we know that the TSN folks, Jay Onrait, Brian Hayes, they already connected Dylan Larkin to the Montreal Canadiens as well. I just gotta say this, though, the more I think about it, even though the fit is there, even though Dylan Larkin as a player profile, 29 years old, 6'1", 205, left-handed center, who has gotten himself oodles and oodles of points. He hasn't really been a point per game. He hasn't had that 80-point season yet, but he's been a 30-goal, 40-assist guy for a good chunk of his career. This is a guy that would perfectly fit that second-line center spot that the Montreal Canadiens have available. Sorry to Jake Evans and Philippe Deneau, but Dylan Larkin fits that position a lot better than they do. My concern, though, is, would Dylan Larkin really be interested in coming to Canada? I don't know. Say what you want about his friendships. Oh, he's good friends with Quinn Hughes. Oh, those NTDP guys like to stick together, so maybe there's a world in which Larkin is actually good buddies with Cole Caulfield. But then again, I mean, Larkin was with the NTDP in 2014. Caulfield was a whopping 5 years later in that system. So maybe there isn't really that much of a connection. Then again, though, you could say the same thing about Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes was with the NTDP in, 2016-17? So a little bit further back. I'm not too sure, though, to be honest. Is there a reality where Dylan Larkin looks at his options and says, hey, I kind of want to go to Canada. I want to go to a team that actually has a fit for me and not just stick around here in the US of A. He's got trade protection, so wherever it is that he goes, he'd have to give the okay to. I don't really know if I see it. These American guys, especially the ones that are asking out of their teams, it doesn't really seem to be a pattern that they end up going to other Canadian organizations. From Quinn Hughes to, I guess you could say the other ones have been not really captain material guys, but Matthew Tkachuk, those two, I think, set the standard for what is able to be done for superstars in the NHL. Who knows if Austin Matthews or Brady Tkachuk end up asking out as well, but Dylan Larkin already has. I don't know if Montreal is a team where players would want to go to strictly due to the American factor. That is not to discredit the fact that the Habs are a great team and there is opportunity at second line C. It's just Larkin's a Michigan American dude. Do you think he wants to go to Montreal? I don't know. If he does, then that'd be cool. But then again, we've seen the pattern. Quinn Hughes left to go to America. Johnny Gaudreau left to go to America. Matthew Tkachuk left to go to America. What happens with a guy that's already in America? Does he go up north? Who knows? Meanwhile, we have a conversation to have about New Jersey Devils captain Nico Hischier. If you've been following the Hischier story, he's 27 years old, so roughly in the same age range as Dylan Larkin, although Larkin was drafted 2014, Hischier was drafted 2017. There's a 3-year difference there. Hischier, 6'1", 201, left-handed center. He's making $7.25 million a year till the end of next season, so he's got one more year left on his deal. And by the time July 1st rolls around, he will be eligible to sign an extension. There have been concerns as to whether or not Hischier is going to be sticking around with the Devils. Last season, he had 66 points in 82 games played. He had an 80-point season once, but throughout the course of his entire career, he hasn't really been as productive as Larkin has been on a year-in, year-out basis, although defensively, these guys are both pretty similar, I would say. They play very similar roles, and we did make a video, actually, talking about Hischier for Larkin, a one-for-one kind of trade, because both of these guys could potentially use a change of scenery. With that said, we had an article posted by Pierre Lebrun, rumblings for The Athletic, the Dylan Larkin fallout, plus a whole bunch of stuff on Hischier, Lee, Blake, and Ferraro. This was summarized by Canucks News Summaries, and if you take a look at what they say about the Devils, this is what is written about by Pierre Lebrun. The Devils have met with Nico Hischier twice, and they have had preliminary discussions about a contract extension. The most likely scenario is that Hischier signs an extension. He is proud to be their captain. But at the bottom it says here, the Montreal Canadiens are keeping a close eye on Hischier. He is a perfect fit, and the Canadiens would be willing to pay the price to acquire him. So in the event that Hischier does not actually re-sign with New Jersey, it seems like Kent Hughes and his Canadian squad would be ready to strike and offer up a package to get this guy, no matter the cost. Seems like Dylan Larkin and Hischier are both in that Montreal bubble. If I had to choose one, I would probably say Hischier is the more likely option to come to Montreal, and also Hischier maybe would be a better value player. I'm not sure. It depends on what the contract he inevitably signs for is going to cost. Dylan Larkin is already cost-controlled. I just have concerns on whether or not he'd actually be willing to come to Canada, period. But ultimately, this is a first-line center guy that could be tasked with second-line center duties with the Montreal Canadiens. Nico Hischier, you could debate he's already second-line center because Jack Hughes exists in that organization. Although, to be fair, Hischier does get 20-minute games once in a while. Oh, this is for Team Switzerland. Never mind. Let's scroll down and take a look at his game log in New Jersey. Yeah, so you get some 23-minute games in there. 21, 18, 19. Maybe he is a first-line center, you could say. Jack Hughes, though, definitely takes away a lot of that offensive load. Hischier, as a primary shutdown option, would be a very big addition to the Montreal Canadiens. He'd be like Jake Evans, but just better. And more productive, too. Either way, though, it seems like Nico is probably going to stick around in New Jersey. If he does not, though, if there is any sort of a conflict, then the Habs have it in them to potentially strike while the iron is hot. Larkin, Hischier, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. The trade price for Dylan Larkin starting out with a Michael Hage-like asset and potentially some other prospects or what have you. Do you think that's fair? Do you think Michael Hage is a starting point? Do you think Nico Hischier would be a great addition to the Montreal Canadiens? Let me know in the comments all your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.